This is my personal best run of Super Ghouls and Ghosts. So as you see, I set the control pad to use B and Y to shoot and A to jump. That helps me shoot 2 daggers really quickly by rolling my fingers over B and Y. And there are a few things you want to shoot 2 daggers for. This run just happened to be in a race against Taleo during the Super Ghouls and Ghosts tournament. I believe it was the semifinals of the losers bracket. So we had both already lost one match in the double elimination tournament. So here we start. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to trigger this chest here. You walk off the edge there, and I'm going to grab the weapon. I got the torch. Torch isn't bad. Torch is very good for level 1. The other weapon you might want is the dagger. And the benefit of the dagger over the torch is that even though you have a slightly slower level 1, you don't have to worry about getting the dagger later in level 2. So as you can see, the game lags a little bit. There are some strategies you can employ to minimize lag. However, you sometimes have to take what you're given. Enemies can activate at randomish times. Like, they become aggressive at a somewhat random time based on how close you are and based on a little bit on RNG. So you have to be able to react to what they're doing. You can't predict it 100% in advance. This section is very fun with the torch. It looks very smooth, and it's not that hard to do. I always enjoy doing this. I'm going to come up on the boss here. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go right under his head, and we're going to just mash both fire buttons. And now that should take him out. The bottom part of his head doesn't have a hitbox. So it looks like I lost 8 seconds according to my splits. However, that has to do with the timing scheme. So when we do races, we usually race based on nico timing because it's easier to sync with each other when you do that. nico timing you start when you press the start button, and on SDA timing you start when Arthur starts moving. So I'm going through the ship here. I opened the second chest. The second chest, when you have bronze armor, contains a weapon, and I got a crossbow. So the crossbow is not the best weapon in the game, and I could have done a damage boost, but I didn't here. And the reason for that is because one thing you can do is, even if you don't get the dagger, if you didn't take the damage boost and you're able to get magic early on in this stage, you can actually get the scythe, and then you can use the scythe magic to force the dagger to come out of one of the weapon chests. So I don't think it ever gets to that here, because I believe I'm going to find the dagger. Before then, there it is. But in case you're worried about whether or not you're going to get a weapon, that's a good race strategy to use. So one thing I want to be careful about here is killing fish and having them drop weapons in a spot that's unfavorable for me. So that's not too bad. However, there's some places, like right over a coral, you want to jump over, where it's hard to avoid that weapon. One of the worst things that can happen to you in this game is getting the wrong weapon. That can cost crazy amounts of time. If I didn't, for instance, if I got the wrong weapon, one of the places where I'd have to grind for the dagger, I could try to grind for it here, which is what I usually do if I don't get it in the first place. But then after that, I'd have to try and grind for it on level 3, and I don't have the benefit of having an auto-scroller where I can grind for it, so it would take a whole bunch of time. And you kind of need the dagger to do the speed run, because it's just so much better than everything else. It does so much more damage per second, and its magic is just so much better than all the other magics. So this auto-scroller is a little bit slow. The whole level takes like 4.5 minutes, which is like a whole minute and a half more than the next slowest level, which is level 3. And like this auto-scroller is like 3.5 of those 4.5 minutes or more. So it's one of the more boring levels. Mostly you're focusing on trying to minimize lag by killing enemies as quickly as possible. So that's the last one. So now we have a nice 20 seconds where I get to wait for the boss to come. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shoot him with one magic, and then I'm going to charge a second magic while I shoot him with some daggers. And I can shoot him with daggers and charge magic at the same time because I have 2 fire buttons. I press 1 before I release the next, and as long as you have 1 depressed at all times, you'll keep charging. There's 1 magic, and 2. And he's down. So now we're heading off to level 3. Level 3 is one of the hardest levels of the game. And a lot of it has to do with these fire imps here. So they're such that you have 2 options. You can like kind of wait and kill them, or you can like move on and ignore them and hope they don't swoop you when you're on a ladder. And you can lose a lot of seconds by not moving on, but like getting hit loses you even more seconds. So there's a lot of tension between playing this part safely and playing it not. So that went all right. And then this section with the lava pillars, you kind of know where they spawn like right away, so it's not too difficult to keep landing on them. So what I did there is I did what's called storage. It's going to help me kill this armor quicker. So the first thing, before you know about storage, you need to know about boosted daggers or boosted weapons. So if you double jump, the weapon you shoot like on your double jump is going to deal a little bit more damage, and Arth is going to do a somersault. I think with daggers it's like 10 damage versus 7 damage. And that might not seem like a lot, but you'd be surprised how often it just crosses over the threshold of lethal damage to an enemy versus not, even when you're shooting them with like 3 or 4 daggers. And you can store this boosted shot by shooting all 3 of your... Like, you can have 3 daggers on the screen, and if you shoot all of those, you do your double jump and you shoot again. I got hit by that bat there. Sometimes they can give you a bad pattern. But if you jump, shoot all 3, jump again, and then shoot. Try to shoot your boosted dagger. Nothing will come out, but you'll have 1 stored. So I'm going to get my armor back here, and what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to jump down this waterfall and make use of my steel armor to absorb 1 hit and maybe damage boost through. So I didn't need to do it, but that, like, if I did get hit, I'd use my iframes to run through unscathed. So there's a quick kill on this guy if you have the gold armor. I don't have it here. But you'd essentially walk up onto that platform to the left, walk off the platform, and you'd be able to set him up to use your dragon magic, and the dragon magic will follow him all the way around in a circle and kill him. But otherwise, like, I got him in one cycle with the poverty daggers. I lost a fair amount of time. But I still managed to get out of that with intact. So now I'm going through the 4th level. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to grab the bronze armor, which gives you a stronger weapon. And I'm going to try to carry that all the way to the end of level 5. You don't really need the gold armor until then. The gold armor is useful in specific scenarios, such as the boss to level 5. You don't need it for the boss to level 4. So I'm going to get the bronze armor out of this chest. And I'm not going to lose a lot of time recovering my armor. Most of the time I lost from getting hit on level 3 had to do with the boss. And the imp waterfall too. So what I'm going to do in this section is I'm going to try to despawn some of those blue seed pods. So you might see how some of them come on the screen for a little bit and then I jump away and they don't come back. One of the things that can frustrate newer players when they play this level is that sometimes the spouts that are shooting out will last so long that they force you off the platform. And you can get around that by being near them when you want to cause them to spawn. So they spawn based on how close you are. So you can get them to spawn on your own terms, and you can be sure that they're going to go away when you need them to. Once you get up here, it's usually pretty free. Since this is normal difficulty, these spouts will give you plenty of time to get past. And I jump toward the exit there, and we're on to the boss. So this boss is very weak to these upgraded daggers. And the reason for that is because the dagger can pierce through all 3 heads, and it can hit each one. So you do 3 times as much damage against that boss as you would against other enemies. So I'm going to do some storage here. I'm going to make use of that to kill that flower pretty quick. And another thing I do there is crouch jump. So what a crouch jump does is it allows you to shoot daggers slightly low, as though you're crouching, but still be moving forward and jumping. And another thing about this game is you want to be jumping all the time. And jumping's, like I think they say, it's 12% faster than just walking forward. The single jump is. The double jump's about as fast as walking forward, but the single jump is faster. So this section, it's getting a little laggy here. And these icicles, you'll see what looks like me running through them. The reason for that is because they're not very, they're not active, like, until they're finished spawning. So even though it looks like they're dangerous, they're not really, until a certain point. So I'm going to try to get gold armor back here. And it's going to be at the next chest after that. It's going to be chest number 3. Gold armor allows you to use magic, and it is good against this upcoming boss. And you're going to want to get 2 magic casts in and a bunch of daggers to take this boss down. So you want the gold armor. And a few more daggers should do it. And there he goes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to position this armor here. What I tried to do here was I tried to position him such that I can kill both him and this armor up here in the same blow. It didn't quite go right this time, so I lost a little bit of time there. So there are three things that head can do, and if you jump in time, I'm going to kill both of these armors with that magic. If you jump in time, that head is usually it'll miss you. Sometimes it'll go fast, but you can just jump a second time to slow yourself down a little bit. So there's a cool quick kill here. So you go into him when he still has iframes, and you get him with the magic, and then you get him with another magic here, and that kills him really quick. You can also kill him with a few more daggers from there. Both ways are valid. So I'm going to spawn that chest there, and that's mostly for safety. I don't need to spawn that chest. However, if I get hit, the backup strat is going to require that I would have spawned the chest. So I'm going to do a little trick there we call the J jump. It's called that because all the Japanese players do it. Otherwise, it's considered a fairly difficult trick to do. And like I think the secret to completing it is you have to wait until the head is coming back to the wall in order to try to jump past it. So I dispatched those two birds quick, and we're coming up on these mimics here. So this part is a lot harder to do if you try to fight them. It's like what I just did there is actually easier than the casual thing, where some people would fight them. So here we get Astaroth again. You kill him the same way. And then there's Nebby here. You can get 3 volleys like this, and then 1 more magic should get him. And that's loop 1. So now what happens is that the princess tells you that you can't beat the next boss unless you have the goddess bracelet. So you should instead go back to the very beginning of the game and find it. Little does she know that we're going to be finding the goddess bracelet in this level 7 again. We're not going to see it until here, but she thinks we should go back to the beginning of the game to find it, so that's what we'll do. And the reason I play this game in Japanese is precisely for this scene. You save about 20 seconds due to the fact that this is in Japanese instead of English. And that's just like free time save there. So now we get to do level 1 again. This time it's loop 2, however. And the difference in loop 2 is that this time it's like you're playing loop 1 in expert difficulty. That's literally what they do. They just like up the difficulty a little bit. If you were playing in professional mode, there would be no difficulty to up, so you just play the same difficulty again. However, since this is normal mode, we are playing in expert difficulty, except we get to start with this gold armor. So the gold armor is a little bit more laggy, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that you have the shield. Another thing that can happen is those skull towers are faster, so they're more dangerous. You can't always get under them without getting hit, so you have to pay attention to what's going on in order to get through that. And here we're going to skip the waterfall. You see how the waterfall is going up as I'm skipping between the platforms. You save a little bit of time by getting ahead of that there. So there's a crouch jump. They're useful for getting rid of these seed pods. So all the places where I'm like crouching and just shooting, you can crouch jump. However, it's kind of difficult to execute on some of them, so I was doing the safe thing and just crouching and shooting. And just kill this bird with a few volleys of daggers. And we're through the level. So now we're on to level 2 again. However, this time we already have the dagger. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to just go through and then we're going to do the damage boost. The damage boost has some advantages aside from just skipping a ladder. It also reduces lag a little bit because your shield and the gold armor cause lag. So, damage boost right up there. And we can do that because there's a way to get gold armor again from here. It's a little tricky, and it involves spawning some chests out of order. What we have to do is we have to open the 6th chest. Well, first we have to open the 4th chest we spawn to get steel armor. Then we have to open the 6th chest we spawn to get bronze armor. And then we have to backtrack to the 5th chest to get gold armor. And as you might think, in an auto-scroller like this, backtracking to the 5th chest is easier said than done. However, there is one section where there are a couple chests that are close enough to each other you can just barely pull it off. There's the steel armor. So most of the strategy here is in making sure that you don't get a surprise weapon, which I don't have to worry about because we already saw the weapon for this level. It was that lance. If you leave a weapon behind, you're not going to see any more. And the other strategy is just to kill things as quickly as possible so that they don't stick around and cause lag. The more things on the screen at once, the more lag you get. So ideally you, kill the barnacles off screen like that. It's kind of hard. You kind of gotta be shooting at them the whole time they're vulnerable in order to kill them entirely off screen. But it saves a little bit of lag, and that's essentially all you can really do on this level. So what I did there is I just stored a boosted dagger, as I explained during the last loop. And that's not strictly necessary for this trick, however, it does mean you have to use one less dagger to open that chest, so if you flub it up, it makes it less likely for you to flub it up. You have to shoot it with less daggers. So now, this part's pretty easy. You just kill those green fishmen as they come up. And then the piranha fish, I think they are. You get them in waves of 3. And you just kill them as they come at you. As long as you stay back, you don't have to worry about it. You can usually get them well before they become a problem for you. The biggest challenge is in case that you haven't spawned a weapon yet, if they drop a surprise weapon at a bad place. So here we're going to go for the same quick kill trick. Charge some magic and try to hit him with daggers while you're charging the second magic. And he's dead. So this is a level where I can really save some time. On my previous, not my real previous PB, but the whatever my best run with those splits are. I got hit during this section, so I lost like 15 seconds due to that. So I'm gonna save some time here. This is where I'm gonna begin creeping out of the red. So I lost my shields to one of the Fuzzy Bear's fires back there. And I do that intentionally, and the reason you want to lose your shield is because the shield causes a little bit of extra lag. I'm going to go ahead and kill this armor with a Dragon Magic out of safety. And then here we are in Bat Country. As you saw from Loop 1, sometimes these bats can give you unusual patterns, unusual angles, and you have to adapt to them. So sometimes it's one of the harder parts of the game. Sometimes the bats don't give you much trouble, and you don't have to worry about it. It is one of the variant parts of this game, though. And after we get past those, we go on to the Imp Waterfall. It's not too hard, you just jump at the red line and fire. And that's where they spawn at, so they'll usually die if you just keep shooting at that red line. Here, on the other hand, you can't quite do that, so you have to time it out. Or hope you get lucky. And there, I just got lucky. I didn't have to worry about anything. So here's going to be the quick kill for this guy. So you use that platform to set it up, and you release the magic. It just kind of follows him around in a circle and makes him dead. And look at that time save. That's a whole bunch. So here we are on level 4. There is some time to be saved on this level too. Yeah, generally you try to get 230. According to these splits, I got 238. So there's plenty of time to be saved here. So I jump over that guy in order to help me despawn a couple of these flame pillars. There would have been one extra flame pillar that would have spawned there that can sometimes be a little bit of a pain to deal with. And it also causes more lag, and no one wants more lag. So here's the part where sometimes the blue genie can come up and get you through there. It didn't happen this time, but that's one of the hardest things to deal with. Is the blue genie coming right up through there. It is very rare, though. Especially at normal difficulty. So, we're back at the, what we like to call the blueberries and cherry pies level. We call it this because the platforms you're riding on look like cherry pies, and like the scenery above you and in the background kind of looks like blueberries. I think PJ might have started that trend. I think he called it that during one of his runs. And the spouts last a little bit longer on this loop. However, it's not a problem. On professional difficulty it might be, but not in this one. And here, same deal. You kill this guy with daggers, and he goes down really quick. And there's the time save. We're in the green now. So again, there's the boosted weapon storage and the crouch jump at the flower. So one thing you have to do there is you can't just crouch jump at that flower, you have to wait a little bit. And otherwise you're going to be shooting too low, and you're not going to be hitting it. There's a certain part of the flower you want to hit where it eats your dagger. It doesn't pierce through the flower, but it still deals damage. And that way you can shoot another dagger because it didn't pierce through and didn't take the whole time to fly off the screen. Also, using the crouch jump to get these vines as I go through them. One thing you might see me doing a lot is shooting two daggers at the same time. You saw me doing that earlier. And one of the things that helps me do that is the control scheme I selected earlier, where I have A and Y, or B and Y mapped to the fire button, and A is the jump button instead of the default configuration. Not everyone does that. In fact, a lot of players don't do that. It's kind of split in the community whether you use the BYA configuration or the B for jump and Y and A for shoot, which is the default. And he goes down. Two dragons and a few extra daggers typically goes down. It depends on whether you used magic earlier in that level, actually. If you use the first magic is a little bit weaker. Not all of the frames are active. But after you do that, all the frames in your magic are active after the first one. And we found that depending on what magic you use, for instance, if you use the slice magic, then you get the dagger and you use the dagger magic, it does even more damage. And you can get like really crazy quick kills on like level 3 due to that. And thanks to Fred for figuring that out for us. So, do the quick kill on him again, and we're on to the last level. So in this level, we're going to try to get the bracelet. So I do need to spawn that chest. And I'm going to get the bracelet out of the second chest. So I want to kill that imp because you can't just have imps randomly flying around in this level. They can corner you off and they can swoop at random times, and it's always a pain to deal with them. So I'm going to trigger that chest. It takes a while for the bracelet to spawn, so I'm going to kill the armor in the meantime with the dragon magic. And then we're on the home stretch. So bracelet is interesting. It does more damage based on if you're closer. And it also eats projectiles. It doesn't have a magic though. So it's both the strongest and the weakest weapon in the game. I kind of like the bracelet because it has a really large hitbox, and if you can get really close, you can do a lot of damage. But it just doesn't compare to the dagger. So we only get it at the end here. And because you only do a lot of damage up close, this fight gets a little tricky. And the bracelet also has limited range. You can't shoot it from all the way across the screen. So you want to be kind of as close to these guys as you can be when you shoot them. So one thing you'll see me doing is kind of crouching near him and crouch jumping toward him. So when you crouch at this guy, so what I tried to do there is I tried to hope the fire went off the edge and damage boosted me a little bit. It didn't happen. But again, as I was saying, if you crouch next to them, they're not going to move into you. So you can use that to manipulate them a little bit. So now we're on to the last boss here. And sometimes he gives you some favorable patterns, sometimes he doesn't. That time he didn't give me a particularly favorable pattern, so I couldn't do as much damage to him. That's a good pattern, though. And if he gives you all good patterns and you execute right, you can get a 2-cycle kill. But with that slow pattern at the beginning, you can still get a 2-cycle kill, but it's considerably more difficult. So I'm going to run all the way to the left here because I'm timing myself on Nico timing for the sake of the race, and it costs a little bit of time for Arthur to run across the screen if you're to the right. So this would be about, this is 35:31 in Nikose timing, but it's 35:16 in SDA timing, where you start timing when Arthur starts moving, which is about 8 seconds in, and or 35:15, and you end timing as soon as you lose control of time, which is about 8 seconds after you, and then 8 seconds later the princess touches the ground, and that's the end of Nico timing. So between the two, there's an extra 8 seconds at the beginning and an extra 8 seconds at the end of Nico timing, so it's a 16-second difference generally. But thanks for watching. That's my current PB of Super Ghouls and Ghosts in normal mode. I hope you enjoy it.